Welcome to the Absolute MomSense Podcast. I want to talk about bullying at school. Yeah. So, first, have you had any experience with your kids being bullied?
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yep.
Tell me more. Tell me what happened.
Mean girls. I feel like the girls are the worst.
What grade?
We've got 6th and 4th.
Okay.
Yeah, but at the same time, it seems like it's certain kids in my family too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me more.
So we have a lot of girl drama that goes on. They're just mean. They're calling names. They're like secluding and like today we're your best friends and today we like hate you.
Oh,
and then they get their little groups to get together and then gang up on this one girl.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm done with it. I hate the bullying. I keep telling my girls, like, don't be the mean girl.
So
we had mean girls growing up with me, and I told my girls, like, I remember them even now. Like, even now I look at them, like, you were mean. You were a mean girl. Like, I still have that, and I'm, like, maturing over it, right?
Right. You're totally
but
over it.
I tell my girls, like, don't ever be the mean girl because they will remember you. They're going to remember that. And I still remember the exact things that happened. I remember what was said to me. Yeah. So don't be the mean girl.
So what do you do when your girls come home and they tell you, like, this happened at school? What do you do?
Depends on the severity.
Okay.
So I am that mom. I do call the teacher. I do call the other parents. I've had it out with another mama at school, and we'd never saw eye to eye. She takes her daughter's side. I take my daughter's side, obviously.
Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously on both sides. I feel like it's really hard as a mom.
Yeah.
Well, and let me rephrase that because I have been in a situation. I've been in a couple of situations with bullying with both of my girls. My boy is not old enough yet. I feel like it's all just fun and kid stuff right now for him. But with both of my girls, I've had issues with bullying being done.
Yeah.
And each time that they come home and they're like, hey, this girl said this girl did this happened, I'm immediately, instead of being like, oh, my poor baby, what happened to you? I'm more like, okay, let's figure out the entire picture.
Right.
Because I'm like, I don't want to just jump to assume that my kid is absolutely perfect and absolutely innocent in every single way. Right? Because you know those moms.
Yeah.
Those moms that are just like, oh, my child is perfect. They could never do anything wrong.
Right.
While I believe that my child is perfect and could never do anything wrong, I'm not going to just assume that. I want to make sure that I know like the whole picture of everything going on. So, like, for one instance that happened, and this was a few years ago, then a parent contacted me and was like, hey, your daughter hit my girl on the back of the head with a big science book, like a big book.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, first of all, when she said it, I stopped and I was like, I can't see that happening. Yeah. Like, I'm going to be honest. I can't see my kid doing that, but I'm not going to just assume that she didn't. So I was like, okay, let me try to figure out what's going on. I went to her and I wasn't like, hey, did you hit her on the back of the head with a science book? Because duh. Yeah. Like, don't just go at her with it. So I was like, hey, how did today go?
Right.
Anything happen? How's your relationship with this specific girl? Did you guys talk? Did you play together? Like, what happened? Right. And she tells me her entire day. She doesn't say anything about the instance. And I'm like, okay, this is weird. And she only has good things to say about this girl. Yeah. So now I'm like, I'm confused. Yeah. So then I call the teacher. Before I even tell my kid what I know or anything, I call the teacher and I'm like, okay, this is what is being said. This is how it's happening. I need to know if my kid is doing this. Will you check? What do you remember from today? What happened? And the teacher had the same reaction as me. And she was like, your kid? Like, I just don't see her doing that. That surprises me. It shocks me. And I was like, I know. I'm thinking the same thing, but I don't want to just assume that she's not. Right. Anyway, so we get down to it. She didn't. So then I finally go and ask her right out. Yeah. Did you hit her on the back of the head with a science book? And she's like, no. And it wasn't even like, no, I didn't. You know when they're lying. Yeah. And it's like, didn't you, though? Yeah. Didn't you do it? And you know. But she was like, she wasn't like shocked or anything. She was just like, no. Yeah. Like, are you for real? No, I didn't do that. And so I was talking to her a little bit more, and she's like, well, like, this girl doesn't really like to hang out with me anymore, and I don't really know why. And so we got down to it, and at the end, it was more like a conversation that I had with my daughter, because I feel like every single experience in life is a perfect teachable moment.
Right.
So then I'm like, okay, it sounds like she, for whatever reason, feels like that you aren't being nice to her. Whether this happened or not, she feels like that you're not including her. She feels like this, blah, blah, blah. So then I reminded her, take good care of people, make sure that she feels welcomed. She probably doesn't want to have to go and ask you if she can be a part of the crew and the games and the playing. So just invite her, be the one to pull her in. So by the end of it, then it was just a miscommunication or a misunderstanding. I don't even know. Honestly, I don't even know.
That's a big misunderstanding.
What happened, but it was more just the type where I was just like,
we're just gonna leave it.
Just like keep going on with life, but like keep her included. Yeah. Make her feel involved, and just keep going. You know, I don't know what else to do. Yeah. Though, right.
Yeah, we've had with one of my girls, and we start out that way, right? Mm-hmm. And I learned the hard way to figure out the whole story. All this went on today at school, so I'm immediately calling the teacher, and then come to find out she was in the wrong in some of the areas. Mm-hmm. So I learned the hard way to figure out the whole story, you're saying, what is actually going on here, get to the bottom of it all, and then we're going to address the situation and take care of the problem. Mm-hmm. So we learned to do that, and then tell her to just be the nice girl, include her and everything, and it keeps going. Mm-hmm. So I finally get to the point where I'm like, okay, there's no association anymore. Cut it. And I'm going to tell her mom, there's no association. I'm going to ask you to ask your daughter to not talk to her anymore. We're going to take a break. Yeah. We're just going to take a break. You go your way, we're going to go ours. But then still harassment going on. It is just a problem. Whispering in her ear constantly all day long, and just mean things. I'm like, well, you can only do so much, So
I know, and I feel like that really prepping your kids to know how to handle the situations helps a lot too, because for one of the situations that happened, then a girl was saying mean things about my daughter. And she was saying, oh, she has lice. Don't touch her. Nobody touch her. Everyone go away from her. Ew, don't da-da-da-da-da. And she was saying all this stuff. And I didn't know about it. She didn't say anything. She had a rough day that day. Yeah. She got home from school, and she just was kind of ornery, cranky. Yeah. And I was talking to her, and she was just like, whatever. Yeah. And then so we let the day go. The next morning, I'm fixing her hair, and she goes, Mom, do I have lice? And I'm like,
poor girl.
No. And I'm like, do you want me to check? Oh, no. I know. I'm like, do you want me to check really fast? Why are you asking if you have lice? What's going on? Aww. And she's just like, well, this girl at school just keeps saying, oh, I have lice. And she just tells everybody that I have lice. And I'm like, well, first of all, you don't have lice. You've never had lice yet. Where's some wood?
Oh, no. I
know. I'm like, I'm terrified of lice. I'm like, that is why I put your hair up in a braid, bun, ponytail every single day, because I'm not risking it. Yeah. And I said, it's also why you don't share coats, hats, brushes, combs. You don't do any of that at school, because you just be careful. Yeah. It's just one of the things you do to be careful. Second of all, how did it make you feel when she said that? Yeah. And she tells me, and I said, so now that you know how somebody would feel, now you'll know that you should never do that to somebody else. That you should never say something like that, even if you think that it's something in joking or for fun, or you didn't think it was that big of a deal, because maybe this girl didn't think that it was that big of a deal. Yeah. Maybe she was just playing around. Yeah. Maybe she was just insecure about something else. I don't know. I don't know her intentions, and I don't care, to be honest, because it's not true. Yeah. It doesn't matter anyway. It's not true, so don't worry about it. And so I was telling her this, and I was saying, basically, the way it made you feel, keep that in mind as you go about your life, basically. Right. Don't do that to somebody else. Don't put somebody else in the same position or situation that you were just in. Yeah. It's not fun. It's not nice. Don't do that. Yeah. So I feel like that, like I said, I'm not the type to just be like, oh, my kid is so perfect and your kid is so not. But then, when my kid is, It's also really hard for me not to be like why are you guys so mean?
Yeah.
Why are you guys so mean? But like I said, every situation is a perfect teachable moment. So I just be like, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do what somebody else did to you. That's not nice. It's not nice. It doesn't feel good.
I think teaching your kids compassion too, though, one thing with my specific kid was, hey, you don't know what her life is at home. And a lot of these kids, you don't know what's going on at home, and it could be rough. Like, so when they come to school, maybe they're acting out. There's probably, maybe they have like a lot of heartache or stress going on at home. So just be loving. You don't have to let them bully you at the same time, but maybe have compassion for them and see.
Have compassion, and even like tougher skin.
Yeah.
You don't have to get offended and feel bad at everything that somebody says.
Well, whenever they like, this kid said this, I said, is it true?
That's what my mom always said.
Is that true? Okay, then you don't have to worry about it.
Exactly.
They call you ugly, are you? No.
No.
So you need to feel good.
They said I have lice. Do you? No.
Great.
You don't have to worry about it now. It's not true. And that's one of the things that my mom would always say, and it did help me. Yeah. It helped me a lot to be like, oh, okay, well then, go ahead and say it then. If it were true, then we'd have to address
that's when it's hurtful, is when they're questioning them, like, is that true? Like, your daughter do I have lice?
Yeah. And she was a little concerned. She was like, do I? And I know that it was really affecting her that night because she just like closed off. Right. And I'm sure she didn't feel comfortable enough asking me then, because what if she did? Yeah. And then and it's just that, I don't know, anxiousness and everything. Yeah. Okay, so we've talked about kids being bullies to our kids. Have your kids ever been the bully?
No.
No, my kids have never.
No, so again, with the one specific student, she was out of line in a lot of ways and being mean. At the same time, I'm like, she probably deserved it, the other girl, but I expect my kids to rise above. You're at this level, you don't need to stoop down. But we haven't had that I know of, and at the same, have you, off track a little bit, have you ever had a kid that bullies your kid and the mom reaches out to you and says, I heard my child was rude to your child?
What? No.
And
how sweet.
Right? So again, another learning moment. I'm like, if I ever heard that my child was being rude, I want to handle it that way. Yeah. We had that happen this year where there was a girl being mean to one of my kids, and that mama reached out and said, hey, I had other moms reach out and say that I heard that my daughter pushed yours or whatever the situation was. And so she actually got on the phone with my girl and like, hey, what happened today? And it put my girl almost in tears. I'm sitting there like, oh my gosh, like just how it was handled was so respectful. Wow. And you could tell she cared about her daughter. And now every single time I see her, my respect for them is like that's really so much admirable. Higher. I know.
For them to just not, because here's the thing, like if you knew that your child was being the bully, you could handle it and everything, but to never address it to the person. Like, I feel like that teaches your kid you get a free pass, right? I know. You can just be a bully. Yeah. Because nothing will happen if you do be a bully. Yep. Or if you don't, right? Yeah. So, that's awesome.
I know, that's and really instead of having, like, hurt feelings between everybody, like, these two girls are, like, actually on good terms now. Mm-hmm. And I'm on good terms with this mama instead of, like, every single time I see this other mom, I'm like, oh, like, don't look at her, Now I'm like, I want to say hi. I want to be your friend. Like, and you could tell even so how much they cared about their own child and mine. Like, they wanted success for everybody around. Yeah. So I was like, that's how I'm going to be. If my child was ever, which they wouldn't.
Yeah. I have had my kid be the bully before. So I was like, it took me by surprise, but at the same time, what she was doing, I was like, oh, okay, my bad type of thing. So she's like, she's very outspoken. Yeah. We'll just say it like it is.
Weird.
All the time. And so it's really hard to teach her how to put a filter on that. Yeah. And so I got contacted by a parent, and she was like, hey, your child has been being really mean to her, saying that she can't be included in their games, saying that she's not, and just that girl drama type of stuff. And I'm like, what? And I don't remember what she said specifically, but it was something that was rude to the other girl. Right. Besides just being like, oh, you can't come play with us. It was something that was rude. So I was like, oh my goodness, I cannot believe my kid did that. And so again, I got down to the bottom of it. And I'm talking to her, asking her how school went, and she tells me, and she's like, oh yeah, we went and played with these friends. And I asked her, well, who did you play with? Hint, hint. And who did you not play with? Hint, hint.
What's going on?
And she's like, oh. And I was like, oh no.
You did it, didn't you?
True.
You did it.
And so she was talking about it, and she was like, yeah, I didn't let this other girl play. And I was like, okay. And what did you say to her? And she tells me, and it matches what the parents said that her kids said. And I'm like,
yeah,
dang it. So then I'm talking to her, and I'm like, why? Why did you say that?
Yeah.
Because I thought it would be funny. I was just kidding. I was just joking. And I'm like, I get where she's coming from.
Yeah.
Because it's this kid. But I'm like, do you see how that is mean? Yeah. Do you see how that is rude? Right. It's not nice. It's very unkind. And so I'm explaining to her, she had a rough school year this year. Yeah, and she was just like trying all kinds of new fun things, seeing all the things that she could do and get away with. So it was challenging, I will admit that. But we worked through it, and then the next day at school, she apologized to the girl, and I contacted the parents. Hey, she apologized today. She said she did. Will you double check with your girl? You're that nice mom. I didn't call her right then, so now I'm like, okay, so now I know how to handle it in the future. But I did double check with the parents and say, hey, she says that she apologized. Did she? And they said yes. Okay, so sounds good. Now we cleared the air, and they're still really good friends, and they hang out and everything. But she takes, she just will do whatever to get a laugh. Yeah. And sometimes then she's not nice. And I'm like, just shift it, still be funny and still try to make people laugh, but do it in a nice way. You don't have to put people down to do it, to make people laugh. Anyway, so just explaining that to her, I think it was a really good experience for us all. Yeah. I had to learn how to be the mom with the bully. And it's a different environment. It's a different experience, I should say.
But it's, again, such a good learning thing.
It is. Yeah. It is. It's challenging. But it's great.
We've had naughty kids, okay? I've had calls from teachers like, your kid did this. They threw toilet paper in the bathroom, wet toilet paper up on the ceiling. So we've had naughty stuff going on, but I really do believe you can cut back on your child being the bully. Not that all of our kids are perfect and things happen, but with the home environment. Yeah. I really do think that they're super loved and taken care of. My daughter has this friend at school, and she is the sweetest girl. Mm-hmm. She is so giving, brings treats for everybody, even gives them their clothes that they're done with, just the sweetest. And I point that out to my girls, do you see her? Be her. Go be friends with that one and mimic it. You be the nice girl at school. At
the same time, you're calling the mom, hey, what'd you do?
I know what they did.
How did you do that? I know this, Mama. How did you get this kid to be this way? Because then we're going to talk. Yeah. Because,
I think it really is because they're so taken care of at home. Mm-hmm. They we'll talk.
They don't need to.
Yeah. You'll know. There's no, they're not
put it out on anybody
trying to
else.
lash out and lash out because they're lacking somehow. Love your kids when they're home. Love them. Yeah. And then I feel like if they're so full, then that just exudes out. Mm-hmm. Whatever they're getting filled up on is just going to overflow to everybody else. Mm-hmm. Not that, I know your kids are loved, Olivia.
Oh, I know.
No, but even on my tone, I'm how my kids are all bickering with each other. It's my tone. Mm-hmm. Where have I heard that from? I don't know. And I would be think things are funny. I'm just your daughter. I say mean things and I try to get a laugh, and I'm trying to grow up out of that still.
I know, and that's the thing. I don't want to smother her personality. Right. That's not the goal. Right. But then it's like I said, you can be funny, you can do all these things, but you don't have to put somebody else down to do it. Right. And so I've just brought that out to her attention, at least. Yeah. And she's changed now. So she'll always be the one to compliment somebody. Right. And so if they have a new outfit, if they got their hair done differently, if they have a different bow, if they have a different backpack, she will notice. I have done the slightest little things to my appearance or gotten a new shirt that I'm it looks similar to my other ones. And she will She'll pick it up every single time, and she will say it because she does say everything that's on her mind.
Yeah.
But at least now it's in a happier direction.
Positive way.
Because it's the other way that I'm like, oh no.
I know.
And I've been there when she says it, and I'm like, oh no. Is that my kid? Is that mine? Anyway, but I found these articles that talk a little bit about bullying. This one I found interesting. They're like toddlers. And she has this friend, and they became friends because their kids went to the same school, right? So they went to preschool together. They were really good friends. The parents became really good friends, and everything was going great. The little girl was like, oh, we're best friends, we're best friends, we're best friends. And then all of a sudden, she's coming home and saying that this other girl is telling her things like, shut up, go away, you're stupid, like just being mean to her, to the point to where now their daughter doesn't even want to go to school anymore because she hates it that much. Yeah. And so, like, what do you do in these situations? Because first of all, you're friends with the other person. Yep. So it makes it a little bit more complicated than if you like didn't know the mom. I feel like that when you don't know the mom, it's a lot easier to address it and be like, "Hey, what's going on? I would love to try to figure this out." But when you're friends with them, it's like, I don't want to ruin my friendship with you, and I don't want to be like, "Oh, your kid is mean. Yeah. Oh, your kid is bad. Oh, your kid is a bad influence," or something like that. So, like, what do you do?
I have this exact situation going on.
It's
and
so
I just
hard.
mentioned it. Hey, my kid came home and said that your kid has been being really mean, and it's continued to go on. Mm-hmm. And even to the point where my kid comes home and he's like, he was nice to me today. Like, he loves it. Because they see their parents hanging out, so they automatically think that they're friends, right? Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I'm looking at my kid like, are you being annoying? Like, what's going on? Because he might have the tendency to be that way. So I'm going through this right now. It's hard. It is really hard when you're friends with the other mama.
It is really hard because it's like, well, first of all, I feel like that I would be the type that would try to work out as much as I could through the teacher, then have to go to the parent until I absolutely had to, because I don't know, I just would be so scared. But at the same time, if my kid was getting to the point to where she was like, I don't want to go to school anymore because of this situation, then I wouldn't put my relationship with my friend above that, if that makes sense. Like, if I had to choose, and if I had to put my relationship at risk, then it would be a lot easier to be like, hey, your kid's saying this. And most of the time, moms are like, oh, I'm so sorry, let me fix that. It's only on occasion that you get those fun moms, and you're like, hey, your kid did this, and they're like, what? No, they didn't. My kid
your kid did this, and they came home and said all this.
And I'm like, oh, I don't know how you think that like everything is just so perfect when it's so clearly your kid is the problem. You know, those ones.
Don't be that mom, you guys.
Don't be that mom. Those ones are the hardest ones to work with. It's not that bad when you're working with somebody who does want their kid to be a good kid. Right. I mean, we all, I would think that every mom wants their kid to be a good kid, but I don't know. Sometimes moms are like, oh, they already are a good kid. They don't.
Or there really are moms that I have come across that seem like they really do like their kids to be mean. Straight up.
Like them to be mean?
They like them to be mean.
There's no way.
I'm like, well, what else? Why are you doing what you're doing then? That's my conclusion. Not make sense. That is my conclusion. Like, you just like mean kids, okay?
You're just
a mean kids. Family.
Anyway, but I don't know. I think if I were in this situation, it would. I am very, like, I like to make sure that problems are solved, and I like to do it right then. I don't like to wait. It's hard. It's hard when you wait because it's
awkward.
It gets awkward, and then it becomes this big thing that you now have to face.
I know.
Yep. Whereas before it gets to that point, you can be like, hey, can we fix this? Also, one of the things that I would do is I would like go hang out with that mom friend outside of preschool and watch my kid play to see if it was happening everywhere else too, or if it was only in preschool.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because if it's only in preschool, then you know, maybe the teacher isn't quite, then you'd know, just talk to the teacher. Yeah. Because maybe it's not that kid. Maybe it's just the environment of everything that's going on.
Right.
I feel like that it would be very helpful as a mom to know that. And so I think that's what I would do first, is go hang out with the mom and then watch.
Yeah.
It'll be easy to see.
Yeah.
If it's happening like that all the time, supposedly, it'll be easy to see right
And
then.
what if the parents don't say it? What if that mama doesn't say anything, like, right in front of your faces?
Then I would call it out.
You really would? You'd be like, hey, your kid's doing this?
I would. Wow. Yeah, I know. Wow. I have really good friends.
It's hard. It is hard.
It is really hard, but at the same time, you don't do it like in a, like, oh, your kid just, right?
Yeah.
It's more like when
Helpful.
it happens, then you kind of I try to draw attention to it by being loud myself. Uh-huh. And so if I were addressing a situation that the other mom didn't see or didn't notice, then I would be like, oh my goodness, you guys, are you okay? Like, oh no, this kid, did you hurt my kid?
Yeah.
Hint, hint. You know, so try to draw attention to it. And then if they're like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Yeah. Then now you've addressed it. And then you talk after that and be like, I don't know why our kids sometimes do this. Just like sit down and have a chat. I don't know why sometimes kids hit.
Yeah.
Like, why do they do that?
Why did your kids
That's so weird. Right? Okay, next one. Okay, my kid is the bully and I don't know what to do. Here we go.
Love them at home.
For you, who's never had a child who was
I'm sure. Bullied. Yeah. But that's so, okay. Before we start, if my kid is ever bullied, I would appreciate knowing it. Maybe I am just a scary mom and nobody dares to come tell me. But at the same time, teachers, we've gone and talked to teachers and they're like, it's not your kid. And I'm like, I know it's not my kid. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we
quit calling me out on these things.
We can't all be perfect. And
oh my gosh.
So, for those of us who have had our kid be the bully,
I have naughty kids too sometimes.
So, this story is about a kid who has turned into the bully, and she was friends with this girl, with her friend, and they text all the time, they're FaceTiming all the time, they're having sleepovers all the time, and then all of a sudden she just starts turning on her, and like this is completely unrelated to this, but this other girl, she starts crying, and the mean girl, this person's daughter, says, oh, you're just doing that for attention. You're just faking it. Like, just trying to put her down and everything. And then one time on the playground, then they were playing, and she had hurt her, and then she went to go tell the teacher. The girl went to go tell the teacher, and the mean one pushed her down to prevent her from going and telling the teacher. Like, she's getting to the point to where she's just a mean girl. Yep. And, like, the mom is like, what do I do? This is my daughter who's the bully. Okay, so she's saying, like, she doesn't know what to do because the mom of the bully is saying if the roles were reversed, she'd be like, I don't want my kid anywhere near your kid. Right. But what does she do? Yeah. So she's like, I don't know how to handle this. I don't know what's going on. She says that her daughter wasn't like this before, and then all of a sudden swapped. And so for me, I would be like, real quick, we're going to stay home from school for about a week, and we're going to hang out. We're going to figure out what's going on. Because in my mind, if it's completely different from their behavior at home, then I know something's happening at school or somewhere else that's making them feel like that they have to do this in order to be cool, in order to be liked, in order to be a part of the cool friend groups, or something that is going on. Yeah. And if my kid is doing this, it's not just, okay, so for my child, I would take it as like a call for help. Right. But then also, there's consequences. Right. Like, you can't be mean to people, and especially like that. Like, that's bullying on another level. Yep. That's mean stuff. That's physical bullying. And so I would be like, okay, we're staying home. You're losing privileges. You're getting things taken away. And then also, it is a call for help. So then you're spending time with them. You're talking to them. You're figuring out what is going on. Like I said, you have to get down to the bottom of everything. You can't just be like, oh, shame on you. You better stop. You better stop being a bully. Right.
I would think 95% of the time, so about 5%, they're just a wrong kid. They're just wrong. I would think 95%
wrong with your kid.
I'm serious. Like, they're just flat out rude. Uh-huh. But most of the time, I think that there's a call out for help. There's something going on at home, or there's an insecurity. There's something going on. Get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, and you'd have to get to the bottom of it in order to to help.
Yeah, to fix it.
Yeah. But like, I at least like how this mom recognizes it and realizes it. Because remember when I was saying there are some moms that are like, oh no, my kid is perfect and they could never do anything wrong. Yeah. Those ones are the ones that are really, really hard to work with.
Right.
Because you can't fix anything. You can't do anything about it. And nobody, like, you can go to the principal, you can go to the teachers and everything, but when this kid, their parents allow it, it just isn't going to stop. Yeah. It's just not going to stop, no matter what happens. So it's like, okay, now what?
Now you, like, keep a pole between you and that kid at all times. Like, this is your distance.
Stay away.
We've had a few of those. Yeah, you just stay away from them.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think that it would be really rough.
Yeah.
To be that. It would be rough to be in the position as the mom, having to deal with that, and then also roles reversed.
Have you ever had it within your own family? So now that I don't have bullies none of my kids are bullies, right? I just, here we go. So I have had the instance where we've had a group of kids, all my children, go against like one kid in the family, like absolutely stand out that kid, and like they're out to get that one kid.
Really?
Yep.
Like siblings?
Yep. So we've had it between siblings, but never out in a public setting.
Wow.
So that's interesting, right?
That is interesting.
Now that's popping in my head, like, no, that we have had that happen.
I don't think I've ever had that happen with my kids yet.
Yeah.
No. Like, there are times and phases where they're just like, oh, now we're going to be friends, and then you're not, and then now we're going to be friends, and then you're not. And so there are, like, times when a couple of them will be like, oh, we found something fun to do, and they don't really want anybody else to play with them. Yeah. But, like, at the same time, I get it. I get it when you're just like, what, we have something going on. Yeah. Do you always have to include every single person every single time? Yeah. So then great learning experiences for my kids. And I'm like, go find something else to play with right now while they do their thing. It's fine. It's okay.
But it teaches you, don't teach your kid to be more likable too, though? Like, maybe if you were more likable, they would want to play with you?
But not necessarily, because, so I'll give you an example. Ava and Atticus are sporty. Uh-huh. They like to do that kind of thing. Yeah. Jazzy's not so much. Yeah. So then they get going on something, and then Jaslyn feels bad that she's like, how come they don't want me to play with them? And I'm like,
do you actually want to play with them?
You don't even want to, though. Yeah. And they know that.
Yeah.
They know that you don't want to. And if you were to go play with them, you would just mess them up because you think it's funny.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, okay, I see what you're saying. So then, go find something else. And then there are times when Jazzy and Addie go play, and then Ava's like, what in the world, guys?
I thought we were friends.
I thought, like, what is happening? Yeah. And then Ava and Jaslyn and Atticus is like, what do I do? So it's always those three. I don't know why.
Interesting.
I don't know why. Okay, this one I found very, very fascinating and interesting to me. Okay, so this is about a little girl, like 5th grade, and there's this boy in class, and she punched him in the face. Yep. So I'm like, first of all, I read that and I was like, okay, that's not okay. You girls cannot hit boys. Just the same as boys cannot hit girls. Right. You just don't hit people. But then it says, okay, this boy is teasing this girl, constantly pulling at her hair, pushing the chair, like just teasing her, just really like bugging her. What is the word? Like antagonizing, right? Yeah. And just going and going and going. She gets fed up with it and turns around and like right in his face. And I'm like,
go you.
Honestly, if this were my daughter, I would be like, it's what you get. But I would do that if it was a boy or a girl doing that.
Absolutely.
I would be like, you asked for it. Literally, you are begging to be hit like that because it was ridiculous. Yeah. Okay, but here's the thing. This happens, and this mom is like, what in the world? So she approves. She says, oh, it's okay. But then she tells her friends, and her friends say, what is the matter with your child? Yeah. How dare she hit? No. And then they say, it's not the boy's fault. He just has a crush on her. So it's okay.
I have seen that where boys literally have a crush on my daughter and they are mean. Absolutely not. That's exactly where so either the girls
say, boys will be boys. He just has a crush on her. Your daughter was out of line.
No.
Do you see what I'm saying?
No, but I'm saying I tell my daughter, like, literally, and this might go against everybody else, but literally I have seen, it seems to be a tendency that when boys are being jerks to that age of girls, they really do have a crush on them.
I mean, I get that.
But if you go out of your, if you're bugging my daughter,
do that and she
first of all, you're going to get
okay.
luckily we have all these older brothers in the family. I have absolutely sent older brothers to be like, hey, if you touch her again. So there's first warning. If it doesn't get solved, you have my permission to go at it. Like, go throw something, like, go punch him, go ahead, like, and we'll deal with the consequences afterwards, but he's not going to touch you again. Yeah. I do not do physical touch. Like, you do not get near my kids. Oh, it gets me.
But, like, the thing that blew my mind was that they were just...
That the friends were, like...
dismissing it. Oh, dismissing the boys' behavior and then calling the girl out. And I was like, oh,
no.
Anyway, but then she goes and takes it to the principal at the school. And she's like, okay, this is what happened. Because obviously the girl gets in trouble because she punches him. So then she goes to the principal's office and she's like, no, hold on. Go back and look at the tape because they did have it all on tape.
Yes.
And they saw the boy going at her and then saw her punch him. And so then even the principal was like, oh, okay. She's okay. She got off with a warning. So, like, that's all that she got. But the principal was just like...
He deserved it.
Yeah, he was bothering her, and so she popped him a good one.
But if it was your boy bothering the girl and your boy got punched, I would be like...
You deserved it.
You probably shouldn't have been doing that.
I would do that, though, because I was... And like I said, whether boy, girl, whatever, if you keep... doing that to people, like if you just keep going at them and
they're gonna snap,
poking them and poking. It's like poking a sleeping beast or something like that, sleeping giant. What is gonna happen? Don't be dumb.
We do that within my own kids, even like
think about
this kid hit me. I'm like, they probably should have. First of all, don't get physical, but you probably deserved it.
Right.
Oh, we don't get physical unless you really, really deserve it.
Right, exactly. But I don't know. I'm just saying. I would be...
Sometimes it does good.
I would approve. Approve if that was my daughter and she did that. I would be like, okay, good for you. It probably made that boy feel real dumb to be getting
We have our tactics. We have our little super nice girl, mean girl tactics. We have a few conversations going on. We teach people their lessons. They decide not to be mean to my kids.
Okay, well, that was fun. Bullying is not nice.
Ugh, it's the worst.
Teach your kids to be nice people, and then also teach them that, like, not to be okay with everything, but have a little bit more thicker skin.
That's the thing, is if they think enough of themselves, then they're just like, who are you?
Right, exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing with the whole lice thing with my daughter. I mean,
do you have lice?
More things were happening than she even said, but she didn't care. Yeah. She just didn't care. The other girl was saying all kinds of things about her too, but the only thing that stuck with her was the lice because she really wondered.
I know, probably maybe she was a little itchy and she was like, oh my heck.
I do. Yeah. And so she panicked a little bit, which understandably so.
Yeah.
But don't be mean.
And be one of the good mamas.
Yes.
Let's all the mothers can group together.
And we can
raise good kids together.
To be nice to each other all the time.
Yeah, we can all be helpful. We don't be wrong.
Teamwork. This is how we do it.